Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Jeremy, tell me your strategy for buying rentals.
A lot of people have hundreds of rental properties or these large portfolios, and I think that it doesn't have to be that intense. Having a handful of properties works out for me. Being a little bit more strategic with the ROI with the properties that you do have, having a handful of properties to pay my bills, to offset my income, has really worked out for me. So my strategy is a little bit more quality over quantity, and properties that are going to be low maintenance or just have a really good return on my investment. So that's the way I look at it. Of course, I want to grow it, but you don't have to have 1,000 rental properties to be successful.
Jeremy has a great story. He's got a handful of rental properties that he's managed to pay off, and those rental properties generate enough income to pay his bills every month. Now, he still has a full-time job, and he relies on that income, but if he has a bad month or a big expense, he doesn't have to worry about it because he's got that rental income to fall back on. And on the show today, we're going to hear his story and learn more about exactly what he's doing. Joining us on the show today for a repeat appearance is Jeremy Smith from Atlanta. We'll take a quick break to thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Jeremy. Are you looking for a rental income without the headaches? Mid-South Home Buyers handles everything from renovations to in-house property management in both Memphis and Little Rock. They have turnkey cash-flowing properties available for purchase today. Just visit midsouthhomebuyers.com right now to view their inventory and start your journey. That's midsouthhomebuyers.com. It's a lot of work to find a really good rental property, and when you actually find that property, you want to make sure you're working with a lender that can get that loan closed. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors finance rental properties. She has a ton of loan programs, and she can find something customized to you for your situation. If you want to find out more or you're ready to get started today, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Billion-dollar investors don't typically park their cash in high-yield savings accounts. Instead, they often use one of the premier passive income strategies for institutional investors, private credit. Now the same passive income strategy is available to investors of all sizes thanks to the Fundrise Income Fund, which has more than $600 million invested and a 7.9% distribution rate. With traditional savings yields falling, it's no wonder private credit has grown to be a $1 trillion asset class in the last few years. Visit fundrise.com/RIP to invest in the Fundrise Income Fund in just minutes. That's Fundrise, FUNDRISE.com/RIP. The fund's total return in 2025 was 8%, and the average annual return since inception is 7.8%. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Current distribution rate as of 12/31/2025. Carefully consider the investment material before investing, including objectives, risk, charges, and expenses. This and other information can be found in the Income Fund's perspective at fundrise.com/income. This is a paid advertisement. Jeremy, let's start off talking about your portfolio. Can you tell me what your portfolio looks like?
Sure. So I have a handful of rental properties that I've collected since, 2010, 2011. And I have everything from a townhome to a commercial space to a single family home to another, a lower income single family home. And really, I will look at or purchase anything that has a good return on my investment, meaning that I can rent it and make at least 2/3 of that back in profits a month. I'm in a sales position. I'm a realtor, and my monthly income, varies with whatever commissions I have. So the biggest point of me having my rental properties is for me to offset my income, and know that my bills are paid when, say, if there's a bad month in real estate and I don't have any income coming in from that.
Okay, so you're not necessarily living on your money. It's more of like a backup in case you have a bad month.
Correct.
Okay.
It's a backup. But maybe one day, maybe this will be part of my retirement. I'll liquidate
Right, sure.
everything. So yeah, it's also, I look at it from that perspective as well.
Now, when we talked last time, you had just one mortgage left. You had paid off the rest of the properties. Is that still true today?
Yep. Yeah. Still have that one payment left, or that one outstanding loan. And, we'll see if that, eventually pay that off, or if I, roll it over to something else, or, who knows what I'll end up doing. But right now it works for me.
So are you making extra payments to get rid of that, or are you fine with having that one mortgage?
I'm fine with having that one mortgage. Okay. Yeah.
And did you buy all your properties at once, or did you kind of slowly build your portfolio over time?
This was a slow process, and it really was not very strategic from the beginning. My first property that I purchased was 2010. Second one was in 2011. And when I purchased the first one, it was my primary residence. Then the second one was strategic to buy a rental property. So that one was a little bit more thought out. The other ones from there had different reasons why I bought them, and they ended up turning into rental properties. So, but a little bit different, but it all kind of fell in place.
Now, as far as getting the properties paid off, like, did you save up cash and buy the properties with cash, or did you pay them off over time?
I paid them off over time.
So, like, how did you do that? Like, did you, follow the snowball method where you paid off the smaller one, or, how did you do that?
A little bit of everything. I've done that before. I've also, in real estate, if I got a big commission check, I would, pay chunks of it down, depending on what I was trying to pay down at that time. The whole idea was for me to have more, a high rental income, and then, have very low monthly expenses. So cutting down those mortgages was my number one priority. And that's kind of how I did it.
Okay.
Each one of them was a different scenario, whether I had a home equity line from a primary residence that I was pulling out of to pay one off, or whether I was getting a traditional mortgage, or, paying cash for it. Everything had a different scenario. It was not strategic from the beginning, but it got a little bit more strategic throughout,
Was it your plan from the very beginning to get everything paid off, or did that plan just kind of evolve as time went by?
From the beginning, I wanted everything paid off. I knew that having the set income, or these fixed expenses per month, and not having a set income, I wanted to have everything be paid off, so I wouldn't be paying it per month. So that was always kind of a goal of mine.
Now, I think a lot of people struggle with, do you have a small portfolio and get everything paid off, or do you take that money and use it as down payments to buy more properties and have a bigger portfolio? Was that ever something that crossed your mind? Like, did you ever think, well, maybe I could have 50 rentals one day, or was that just never an interest of yours?
I don't know if I would want that many. I think I would probably, be okay with around 10. But it all depends on how much the scenario with it, how much the payments are, how much I'm pocketing each month from it. That's kind of the way I would look at it.
So, like, it must be a good feeling to know that every month that cash flow is there. Like, does that just take off a lot of stress, take out a lot of stress from your life?
It does. It's a really nice feeling to know that, if real estate's terrible, which when I started, in the recession was not the greatest, that there would be, that the bills would be paid. It's a great comfort to know that. And, I always, when I have other, talk to other realtors and have other coworkers and people that I've worked with in the industry, I've always advocated and said, hey, if you can buy a rental property and the numbers make sense, it has really helped me.
Now, I'm sure there's people listening right now that are getting mad hearing this, that, real estate investors, I think, are just wired to love leverage. And do you ever get hate from other investors or from people that are trying to tell you, hey, you should really lever up, or does that not really happen?
Not really. Honestly, talking with you is probably the most I've talked about this. So a lot of people don't know that I have these rental properties. And everybody has a different method to it.
Yeah.
And this one happens to work for me. And I think just having this unique scenario of my income, this is why this works for me.
Yeah. And, and that's the great thing with real estate. There's so many different ways to do this, and you just got to figure out what works for you. So now, what about in your personal life? Like, do you have any debt at all, like a car payment or a mortgage on your personal house, or is it just the rental properties that you want to get rid of the debt on?
No, I have a debt on my primary residence, and it's at a 2.3 interest rate, so I'm totally fine with that.
Right.
And yes, so I've got that, and that's it.
Now, do you ever think about upping your lifestyle, or is that like a struggle you have that, you've got this extra money coming in, maybe you could buy a nicer car or a bigger house or spend the money on something. Does that ever cross your mind?
You know what? All the time, especially in real estate, I'm always looking at houses.
Yeah.
One of the things, though, I don't want to deviate from our topics here, but my specialty is high-rise condominiums, and the prices of high-rise condominiums have really went down in Atlanta, but the HOA fees have skyrocketed. My HOA on my condo has gone up 46% for 2026.
Wow.
And that has actually kept me not moving, because I look at some of these other buildings that have even worse scenarios than I do, and I'm at my 2.3% interest rate. So, for me I'm in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, but for me to, gain an extra 500 square feet or go to a 3-bedroom, it doesn't make sense per month going for a higher HOA fee, which is usually based on price per square foot, and then having a higher mortgage, and not a 2.3% interest rate. So my scenario that I'm in actually has kept me where I'm at. But no, it's very tempting. I'm a condo person. I love condos, and I do not want to live in a single family home. I own a few of them for rental properties, but I don't want to deal with it myself and, be there on a daily basis and making sure grass is cut and things like that. So not my thing. So no, I'm staying put.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, let's take a look at your numbers here. So if you add up the rent from all your properties, how much gross rent do you bring in every month?
I'm getting about $7,600 per month.
And if you look at your fixed expenses, so you've got some condos that you rent out to?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So one's a townhome with an HOA, and the other one is a commercial space in a condo building. So it's a commercial condo.
Okay. So you've got condo fees, you've got that one mortgage, you've got property taxes, insurance. Like if you were to break that down to a monthly figure, what are your fixed expenses every month?
It's about $2,300 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for repairs, like, do you generally have things coming up from time to time, or do you like?
I don't. When I've bought these places, either I've renovated them or I've put money into it, one of them was my primary residence for a while, so they're all in pretty good shape. Of course, we do have things that come up, throughout the years and things like that. But I don't have a savings account that I save for these items. It just, when it happens, it happens. I do keep a spreadsheet of everything that I've spent on the home, just so I know for my own records. But I really don't have. I don't have much issues or many expenses with it, which is nice. Again, going a little bit more of like quality over quantity. I'd rather have this handful, 5 or 6 properties that are rentals, or hopefully maybe 10 one day, than 50 that are all falling apart.
Right, absolutely. So all right, so after you pay the fixed expenses, you've got about $5,300 a month. So
Yep.
so you just kind of put that aside so that if you have a rough month, that money's there. But when something does come up, are you also tapping into that money to pay for whatever expense might come up on a property?
Right. Yeah. I keep those funds, and I pay other bills with them, car insurance, health insurance, things like that. But when things do come up, it comes from those funds. But it's nice. I'm not living extravagantly off that income. Primary my income is from my rental or from my real estate commissions. This is it's a nice backup, nice
Sure.
blanket to have. Yeah.
So on a typical month, how much time do you spend on managing your properties?
Honestly, not much. I collect the rent each month, which is probably the most time consuming thing, which is really not. I text them and say, hey, my rent is always, it's the first of the month, it's due at the first of the month, and it's late by the 5th of the month. So usually about at the 3rd day of the month, I'll text, and I've got it on my calendar. I'm like, hey, I hope you're doing well. Make sure you drip your faucets. It's cold outside or whatever. And oh, by the way, rent's due. And I've got somebody who pays me on Apple Pay. I've got another person who pays me on Zelle. I've had people pay me on PayPal before. So maybe the time consuming part is trying to transfer all those funds back to, my accounts, but, it's not that time consuming. It's quite easy. I think I'm fortunate with it. If somebody did have a demanding job or really does not want to be a landlord, maybe they could hire a property manager, but, it's not much of time out of my pocket. And plus, I'm a little bit more familiar with it, being in the real estate industry.
Right. All right. So worst case, I mean, it sounds like it's less than an hour.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Time.
It's not much.
So,
it's not much time,
you know,
unless I'm trying to find a tenant, and I'm out there showing the house and trying,
Right.
that gets time consuming, but that happens maybe once a year, every other year. I try to keep my tenants there as long as possible.
So, I mean, you think about it, it's, $5,000 an hour. Not a bad, not a bad rate. So everybody pays you a different way, but are you taking checks at all, or is everything electronic?
Everything's electronic. I do have a lower income property that used to pay me in cash. And honestly, I didn't care for the cash because I wanted those funds had to go to other bills. So at that time, I wanted that electronically. So that was a little annoying, but no, it's easy. It's all electronic.
Now, let's talk about screening. So when someone applies to one of your rentals, what are you looking for in a tenant?
I'm looking for somebody who has solid income, proof of income, and a good landlord history. I can be a little bit lenient on credit scores depending on scenarios, and if somebody has recently gone through a divorce or has a legitimate excuse for something. If anybody has an eviction, that's a definite hard no for me. I don't want to deal with that. Or if I see somebody who has negative trade lines on their credit reports that they're not paying their car insurance or their or car payment or something like that, and it seems like it's a regular occurrence, that's a red flag for me as well.
Do you check the people out on social media?
I look at them everywhere.
Okay.
Yep, I sure do.
Yeah,
I do. I really stick. Knock on wood, I've never had to have an eviction. Even with my clients in real estate, I don't manage properties for them, but I will market the property, find the tenant for them, and write the lease. And I've never had to evict or go through an eviction process with any of my tenants either, or my clients who I have found tenants for. So I'm I'm pretty strict with it, but also, I do understand that life happens and there are, scenarios that there could not be, maybe there's a reason for an imperfect score.
So what do you think the worst thing that has happened to you has been since you've been buying rentals?
The worst thing, I would say I leased my townhome, my first rental property, was my primary residence for a while. And I bought that years ago. I love that townhome. I still have it. That's one of my top, income producing properties. I renovated it. It's in a great area. It's an awesome place. I rented the unit to a real estate broker, and I won't say what brokerage it is. But it's a big brokerage, and she trashed the townhome.
My God.
I remember walking into it. The ceiling was coming down in the kitchen, and water was coming through. And she's like, "Oh, I thought it was a little leak, but I didn't, think anything bad about it." But it's like sheetrock was on the ground, and it had clearly been there for a while. The floors were buckled, the hardwood floors. Like it was just a mess. So that was probably the worst thing. Had to get insurance involved. We had some involvement with the Atlanta Realtors Association, code of ethics things, why she's just little things like that. But ended up all working out. And that's why I do require my tenants to have insurance as well. I ask all my tenants to have renter's insurance and to name me as secondary on the policy. And then, of course, I have my own insurance on the properties as well.
So that didn't lead to an eviction?
No, I found this when she was moving out. So we did her move out inspection. And usually at the beginning of the lease, I'll do a walkthrough with everybody. We'll note if there's anything imperfections. So when they do move out, that, we know they didn't do it, like a cracked tile or something. And then when they move out, I do the same thing, go through the house with them and grab the keys. And that's when I discovered this. Ugh. And it was one of the scenarios I just had to walk away. I was like, listen, we're going to have to end this right now because anything I say is not going to be friendly.
Right.
I just got to walk away.
So your insurance paid for all that? Like, did that actually cost you money out of pocket?
Yeah, I had to pay my deductible, which then I subtracted. Well, she didn't receive any of her security deposit. So I guess technically nothing really out of pocket.
Okay. Right.
So that did it. It ended up working out. It was just frustrating because the townhome community that my property is in, there is only 25% of the community can be leased out at a time. So once a lease ends in the neighborhood, you have 90 days to find a new tenant, or you go to the bottom of that list. And the list is a couple years long. So it was a scramble to get the place on the market, to get it fixed, and to find a tenant like ASAP, because I did not want to lose my leasing permit.
So what would you do if it took longer than 90 days? Like, would you just have to sell that property then?
I would probably have to sell it, or I would have to get very creative and write you a lease.
Right.
Here's my new tenant. But I obviously don't want to go that route.
Sure.
I don't want to piss off the HOA there.
Yeah.
But people have got get creative with it, but no, probably would just have to, give the townhome away as a really good deal just to secure a tenant.
If anybody is looking to buy in the Atlanta area, or if you just want to reach out to Jeremy to say hi, I've got his contact information on the website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 559. I'd like to thank Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking to buy a rental property, whether you're just getting started or you want to add to your portfolio, reach out to Chaley. She has a ton of different loan programs, and she can find something that will work for you. And right now, she's offering a free strategy session. If you want to take advantage of that, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. Make sure you hit that follow button. I put out a new interview every single Tuesday. And if you're following the show, you'll get notified when the next episode comes out. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.